Avery Spezza. I'm 9 years old and I've been dancing for 5 years. And this is my mom, Cara.
Hi.
And she is gonna be,
I'm going to be showing you how to do Avery's makeup. I do her makeup for competitions. I'm a makeup artist. I've been doing this for 14 years. I do makeup for weddings and all kinds of events. And so I'm going to show you how we do step by step, how we get a nice stage competition look. So the first thing we do, usually I start with the eyes. And the reason I start with the eyes is because when we do a darker eyeshadow, if anything falls below the eyes, we want to wipe that away so it doesn't get stuck in the foundation, the concealer, all of that. So we start with the eyes, and when we do that, I'm going to start with a primer. And so I like to use a good full coverage concealer as the primer. So I'm going to have you just go in close. And I'm going to cover her whole lid from her lash line all the way to her brow. And the good thing about using a concealer like this is it has a good consistency for the eyeshadow to stick to, but you can also get it in any shade so that it matches your dancer's skin tone, so it won't change the tone of the eyeshadow. You'll get a true color coming out of it. So the eyeshadows we're going to use 4 colors. And basically what you want is you want this light color that's going to be your highlight color. So it's going to go right under the brow and on the inner corner. You got a lid color, so you want sort of a medium tone. Usually a shimmer works really well, like a soft kind of peachy warm brown color. That's going to go right on the center of the lid. Then you want a nice dark color. Usually a matte color works well. This is a nice kind of chocolate brown. It's going to go on the outer corner. And then a matte kind of warm soft brown blending color, and that's going to go in the crease. Some people call it a transition color, blending color, crease color, and that's going to sort of bring all those colors together and blend it all together really well. So we're going to start, you kind of want to, the rule of thumb is to go light to dark. So we're going to start with the lightest color here, and we're going to use a flat brush. And this, you want to, with most eyeshadows, if you're not blending, you want to press the color in. So you want to just kind of press that in with a flat eyeshadow brush right under the brow, just to kind of give that a nice open look. Go ahead and close. And then also right here on the inner corner, we're going to use that same light shimmery color. Stay with our flat brush, and we're going to move on to the lid color. So that's that next kind of medium shimmer color. And same thing, I'm going to go ahead and close. And we're going to press that right onto the lid and cover the whole lid just right to the crease. You don't want to go above that yet because that's where our blending color is going to go. So just cover the whole eyelid almost all the way to the outer corner. With our corner color, I'm going to use another flat brush, but a little bit smaller since this is a smaller area. And I'm going to use that dark color right here. And you don't have to worry about blending this too much. Just if you work the brush back and forth, it'll sort of blend those colors together a little bit. And you just want this to give the eye some dimension and darkness so that it really shows up on stage. So you want to kind of keep it to the outer corner, and you can bring it in just a little bit. And same thing, just right up into that crease. Just pressing that color in. Now we want to switch to more of a fluffy brush because we're going to be blending. So something that's kind of like a tapered, fluffy brush is going to help blend those colors, and we're going to use a matte color. So something with no shimmer, a matte kind of soft brown color is going to go right here into the crease. So blend all those colors together. Make sure that the colors go from the lid up brow, and they all blend together and look nice and blended. So you just kind of work the brush back and forth. Just little circles here and just blend it back and forth. And then if you lose a little bit of that dark color, you can kind of go back in and add a little bit of that back in. Good. And you can always go, depending on your dancer, if they're younger or older, you can go a little lighter, a little darker, whatever you feel comfortable with, whatever works for their skin tone. And if they have a darker skin tone, you might want a little bit of darker colors to kind of bring those out. So next we're going to move on to starting with our eyeliner. We'll do this kind of another step after we do the lashes, but you can use that same dark corner color, and we're going to use a little flat angled brush this time. You can use a straight flat brush too, but an angled brush for me is the easiest to work with. So I'm just going to close your eyes, and I'm just going to wiggle this eyeshadow right along the lash line. The reason we do this, it's not a necessary step, but the good thing about this is if you're putting lashes on and maybe you're not super comfortable with lashes and it's hard for you to get it right on that lash line, if you have this dark kind of shadow eyeliner right here, it's going to fill in that gap between the eyeshadow and the lash line, so you won't see a light colored line in between the lashes if you can't really get them straight down onto the lash line. Now we're going to use the same color and do just a little bit of eyeliner on the bottom. Go ahead and open and look all the way up. And so I like to kind of use my finger and pull down a little bit so it doesn't feel like I'm poking her in the eye. And I start at the outer corner and just kind of wiggle right along that lash line. And I'm not going to go all the way in. We just want to help line and define the eye a little bit so that the eye stands out when it's on the stage. And go ahead and look up. And go about halfway in on the lower lash line. And just wiggle that all the way across. Now I'm just going to use a little wipe and wipe away any of that eyeshadow that fell below her eyes. Which is why we'll do the eyes first. Okay. You can clean up the outer corner. You want to make sure your eyeshadow doesn't fall below their eye here, because that's really going to pull the eye down and make it look droopy. You want their eyes to look nice and lifted. So keep the eyeshadow right at the corner of the eye. We will come back to the eyes for lashes and liner. I'm going to move on to her face now. So since she's so young, she doesn't need a lot of coverage. I'm going to use a really sheer foundation on her and a little concealer. But if you have an older dancer or somebody who wants more coverage, you can use a full coverage foundation. So right now I'm just going to use a sheer liquid foundation and just kind of buff it on her skin. And just, you want to start from sort of the center of the face and work your way out. And just pressing this into her skin just for a little bit of coverage. The good thing about using a little bit of foundation or even concealer is that once you put blush on, this is going to help hold your blush. You want something for your blush to stick to, because if you just have bare skin, the blush is going to not hold to the skin very well. So it helps if there's something under that to hold the blush onto. I like using a sponge. It helps give it sort of a natural look. try your best to find something that's going to match their skin tone. Their skin may change throughout the year, but you want to try your best to find something that's not too dark or too light so that they don't look washed out or they don't look like they have an orange face. So try to find something that matches their skin tone really well, and make sure you blend it under the jawline and even onto the neck a little bit so that it all blends together and doesn't have a harsh line on the jaw. Okay, so the next step would be concealer. I'm going to add a little concealer just so you can see if there's any discoloration around the eyes or you need to even out a little more. You can add some concealer to add a little more coverage. Just do under the eyes, forehead, chin, just sort of the center of the face. And I'll use that same sponge to blend it out. Go ahead and look up. Look up. If you used more of a foundation, you can use a powder to kind of set it. She doesn't really need that, so I'm going to skip that step and we'll go straight to blush. So for this stage, you want to use a little bit of a brighter blush. You're going to, kind of a bright pinkish blush is going to work well instead of something that has too much of a bronze tone. If it's too bronze, it's going to look a little muddy. So I'm going to use this bright pink blush, and I'm going to start on the apples of her cheeks. If you want, you can have them smile, and it'll help you find the apples of their cheeks. Go ahead and smile. So you kind of start the blush right there, and press it in, and then you can kind of sweep it in an upward diagonal motion up toward their temples a little bit to blend and give a nice bright lifted look. For blush, you might want to go a little more than you would think because, again, we're dealing with bright stage lights and we want to make sure that their face doesn't look washed out. So we want to have a good amount of color to their eyes, their cheeks, and their lips. Alright, got that. And then an extra step you don't have to do, but I like to, is use a little bit of like a shimmer highlight. Kind of gives their cheeks a little glow. Add that to the upper cheekbone, a little on the nose, chin, back. Alright, next we're going to go back to the eyes. And before we do lashes, we're going to do mascara first. And when I do this, I like to use a lash curler. You don't have to because I know not everybody's comfortable with that. But the great thing about using a lash curler, especially if your dancer has really straight eyelashes, is the lash curler is going to help lift those natural lashes, so when you put the false ones on, they blend together really well. If the lashes, the natural ones, are really straight and you put the false lashes on, you're going to see a gap in between them, and what you really want is for them to blend together so they look like one lash. Okay. So for this, I'm going to have them look down. Don't have her close her eyes. Look down. I use my thumb to lift the eye and kind of open it. And I get the lash curler right close to her lash line. Give it a squeeze. And then kind of work it back and forth so you don't get like a crimped lash. You want to have a nice curl on that. And then open. Do the same on the other side. Lift it open. Squeeze. Okay, next we will do mascara. For mascara, I like to start with the bottom lashes, because if you start with the top and then you have them look up to do the bottom lashes, you might get mascara on their eyelid. So we'll start with the bottom. Go ahead and look up. And you just want to wiggle that right on those lashes. And pull the brush down. Go ahead and look up. And wiggle it and pull. Now we're going to do the top, so I'll have her look down and do the same thing, kind of lift with my thumb and just wiggle it from the base of her lashes upward. Now we're gonna move on to false lashes. I like to use the Ardell Demi Wispies. I think they're a great lash that work on almost any eye shape. So we're gonna use that. But first, I'm gonna take my glue. I like the dark duo. For me, it works the best to blend with the lashes and the liner, and it dries black, so it all kind of dries together and blends together. So I'm gonna take a little bit of this and just draw a little line on my palette. Because when you do lashes, you don't want the glue to be super wet, otherwise the lashes will slip around and they'll be hard to get to dry. So I let that dry for a little bit while I pull the lashes off. And you always want to measure your lashes before you glue them on, because most of them are too big for most people's eyes, especially little kids. So with that, I'm gonna have her look down. Go ahead and look down. And I'm gonna just place the lash where I know I'm gonna put it. And I look at this outer corner, and anything that hangs off the outer corner, you want to cut off. Otherwise it's going to poke them and it's going to hang off, and same thing, it's going to have that droopy look. So I'm just going to cut off one little segment for her. And then when I put on lashes, I like to use tweezers. These are really kind of blunt, flat tweezers. They're not sharp or pokey at all, so they're not going to poke her in the eye. But for me, it's the easiest way to get the lashes on without sticking my fingers right in her eye. So I just grip the lashes with the tweezers. I dip it in my glue. And I like to dip it in the glue rather than squeezing the glue right on it, because I have more control when I dip it versus, you know, you might get like a big blob that squeezes out on your lash and then it makes a mess. So I dip it in the glue and kind of wave it around for a minute, because you want it to be that tacky kind of sticky rather than super wet. So same thing, remember, look down. It's much easier to look down than close, because when you close your eye, it wrinkles your eyelid. So you just place it right on the lash line. Push it in. And get it as close to her natural lashes as possible. Now, if your lashes, when you put them on yourself or on anyone else, if they have a hard time staying, a really good tip is to use the tweezers. Dip the edge of the tweezers in the glue, get a little bit on there, and then go right along the top of those lashes, look down, and just put a really thin line of that glue all along. This will seal the lash on so you don't get any corners popping up or your lash getting loose and falling off. Glue will dry black, so it'll blend right with those lashes and the eyeliner. I like to use a black liquid eyeliner, and then I don't like to use the brush that comes with the eyeliner. You can if you want, but for me it's too flimsy to get enough control, so I like to just put a little bit onto my palette, and then I use that same angled brush that I used earlier for the eyeliner, and just dip it in the liquid liner, like that. same thing right along that lash line and just do small little wiggles or strokes. You don't have to make a big stripe across, it's a little harder to control that way. So just small little wiggles. Now in the outer corner, if you want to add a little bit of a wing, you just take that brush, look down, make sort of your diagonal line, and then bring it in. We can go back with our mascara just to kind of get those lashes all together and really stand out, and do them sort of on the tips of the lashes. Alright, so then last we have lips. We like to do a nice deep red lip for competitions. So I'm going to start with lip liner. So for lip liner, if it's hard or you feel like the lips are tugging when you're doing it, you can have them smile, and then it's easier to get a smooth line. If you can find a liner that is sort of a long wear lip liner, that's going to be your best bet for the least amount of smudging and for the best staying power. So go right along the edge of their lip. And then you can take that liner and feather it in onto the lip a little bit. That'll give you a good base of color so that if your lipstick starts to wear off, you have that underneath to keep that color there, and it'll help it stay. So this is like a lip stain. You want to find, they even have them at drugstores, you can find those long wear lip colors. Any kind of liquid long wear lip color is going to last really well and stay throughout the day for competitions. So any kind of stain or long wear, I like to use a little brush since she has smaller lips so that it'll not get all over the place. push the lips together a little bit. And I think that's pretty much it. We got the eyes, the lashes, the liner, the blush, the lips. That's pretty much it. It's our finished look for dance competition makeup.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching.